June 10th, 323 BC. Babylon, the greatest conqueror in human history, lies dying in a palace room. Alexander the Great, 32 years old, master of an empire stretching from Greece to India, undefeated in battle, worshipped as a god. His generals gather around his deathbed. One asks, "To whom do you leave your empire?" Alexander's response, according to legend, "To the strongest." Those would be his last coherent words. His body was embalmed, placed in a golden sarcophagus filled with honey, transported across thousands of miles, entombed in a magnificent mausoleum that became a pilgrimage site for emperors and kings. Julius Caesar visited it. So did Augustus, Caligula, and Septimius Severus. For 600 years, Alexander's tomb was the most famous monument in the ancient world. And then, it vanished. No trace, no ruins, no archaeological evidence. The tomb of the greatest conqueror in history simply disappeared. For 2,000 years, archaeologists, treasure hunters, and obsessed historians have searched for it. Hundreds of excavations, millions of dollars spent, careers destroyed chasing shadows. Where is Alexander's body? And why can't we find it? To understand why Alexander's tomb is lost, you need to understand the chaos that followed his death. June 323 BC. Alexander returns to Babylon after years of campaigning in the east. He's planning new conquests, Arabia, perhaps even Carthage and Rome. But he falls ill. Suddenly, violently. The ancient sources describe fever, chills, progressive paralysis. Within 10 days, the man who conquered the known world is dead at 32. Poison? Malaria? West Nile virus? We still don't know. But the result is catastrophic. Alexander leaves no clear heir. His empire, the largest the world has ever seen, immediately fractures. His generals, the Diadochi, begin a brutal 40-year war for control. Perdiccas, Ptolemy, Seleucus, Antigonus, each claiming to be Alexander's true successor. And Alexander's body becomes a political weapon. According to ancient historian Diodorus Siculus, Alexander's body was embalmed using Egyptian and Babylonian techniques. The corpse was placed in a golden anthropoid sarcophagus, a human-shaped coffin filled with honey as a preservative. This sarcophagus was then enclosed in a golden casket, placed on an elaborate funeral cart pulled by 64 mules. The procession begins its journey to Macedonia, Alexander's homeland, where he would be buried with his ancestors. It never makes it. Ptolemy, one of Alexander's most trusted generals and childhood friend, intercepts the funeral procession in Syria. It's essentially a royal kidnapping, a corpse napping. Why? Because possessing Alexander's body grants legitimacy. In the ancient world, controlling the remains of a divine king meant you inherited his authority. Ptolemy takes the body to Egypt, the territory he's claimed as his own. First to Memphis, the ancient Egyptian capital. But Ptolemy has bigger plans. He's building a new capital city on the Mediterranean coast. A city that will bear Alexander's name, Alexandria. According to Strabo's Geographica, written around 20 BC, Alexander's body was eventually moved to Alexandria and placed in a magnificent tomb structure called the Soma, the body, or the Sema, the tomb. And there, for over 6 centuries, it remained. The most visited tomb in the ancient world. Until it wasn't. We don't have archaeological evidence of Alexander's tomb. But we have something else, eyewitness accounts. Ancient writers who visited it, who saw it, who described it. Our primary sources include Strabo, c. 64 BC, 24 AD, Greek geographer who visited Alexandria and described the tomb's location. Diodorus Siculus, c. 90 BC, 30 BC, historian who documented the funeral procession and initial burial. Plutarch, c. 46 AD, 119 AD, biographer who recorded visits to the tomb by Roman leaders. Suetonius, c. 69 AD, 122 AD, Roman historian who described Augustus visiting the tomb. Dio Cassius, c. 155 AD, 235 AD. Late Roman historian documenting tombs. Condition. Between them, they paint a detailed picture of the tomb's history. Strabo describes the tomb as part of a complex of royal tombs in the Regia, the royal quarter of Alexandria. The Soma is a part of the royal palaces, for Alexander was buried in Alexandria, since Ptolemy took away the body as it was being conveyed to Aegae, Macedonia, and placed it in Alexandria, where it remains even now, though not in the same sarcophagus. Not in the same sarcophagus. What does that mean? Ptolemy IX Lathyrus, facing financial crisis around 89 BC, allegedly melted down Alexander's original golden sarcophagus and replaced it with one made of glass or alabaster. Even in death, Alexander couldn't escape being plundered. The tomb became a required stop for anyone claiming power. Julius Caesar visited around 48 BC during his pursuit of Pompey. But the most famous visit was Augustus, Rome's first emperor, around 30 BC, right after conquering Egypt. Suetonius records. He had Alexander's mummified body brought out from its tomb and, after gazing upon it, showed his veneration by placing a golden crown upon its head and strewing flowers over its body. When asked if he wished to see the tombs of the Ptolemies as well, Augustus reportedly replied, "I wish to see a king, not corpses." Savage. But it reveals something. Alexander's body was visible, preserved well enough to be seen after 300 years. Later visitors report the tomb's declining condition. Emperor Caligula, 1st century AD, allegedly stole Alexander's breastplate from the tomb to wear himself. Emperor Septimius Severus, c. 200 AD, reportedly sealed the tomb, forbidding further access. Christian sources, 4th to 5th centuries, mention the tomb's existence but note it's no longer accessible or maintained. And then, silence. By 400 AD, no more references, no more visits, no more descriptions. The tomb of Alexander the Great vanishes from history. Before we dive into the theories of what happened, subscribe to this channel if you love archaeological mysteries where the most famous things in history just disappear. And comment. Do you think Alexander's body still exists? Or was it destroyed centuries ago? Give me your theory. Now, let's talk about where archaeologists are searching. Modern Alexandria sits on top of ancient Alexandria. Literally, centuries of building, destruction, earthquakes, and flooding have buried the ancient city under 20 to 30 feet of sediment and modern construction. Finding Alexander's tomb means excavating beneath a living city of 5 million people. It's archaeological hell. Multiple expeditions have searched Alexandria, 1960s, 1990s. Egyptian and international teams conduct limited excavations in Alexandria's historic center point 1990s, 2000s. French archaeologist Jean-Yves Emperor leads underwater excavations in Alexandria's harbor, discovering submerged ancient quarters point 2004. Greek archaeologist Liana Savaltsi claims to have found the tomb in Siwa Oasis, later debunked point 2014-2018. Greek geographer Dimitris Goudos uses radar and satellite imaging, claiming the tomb lies under St. Mark's Cathedral point 2019. British Egyptologist Andrew Chugg proposes Alexander's remains were moved to Venice and are now in St. Mark's Basilica. Controversial theory. Hundreds of claims. 0 confirmed discoveries. One persistent theory places the tomb not in Alexandria, but in Siwa Oasis, 350 miles into the western desert. Why Siwa? In 331 BC, Alexander made a legendary pilgrimage to Siwa's oracle of Ammonius. There, the priests declared him the son of Zeus Ammonius, a living god. It was a pivotal moment. Alexander emerged from Siwa convinced of his divine destiny. Some ancient sources suggest he wished to be buried there. In 1995, Greek archaeologist Liana Savaltsi claimed to have discovered Alexander's tomb at Siwa, finding a temple complex with Macedonian architectural features and inscriptions. Egyptian authorities investigated and rejected her claims. The structures dated to later periods. No evidence of Alexander's burial. Savaltsi never gave up. She's still convinced she found it. But mainstream archaeology disagrees. Others argue Alexander's body never made it to Alexandria. That Ptolemy's initial burial in Memphis was the final resting place. Memphis was Egypt's ancient capital, a logical first choice. But ancient sources clearly state the body was moved to Alexandria later, unless the sources are wrong, or the move was political fiction. The wildest theory: Alexander's body is in Venice. British Egyptologist Andrew Chugg proposes that around 828 AD, Venetian merchants stole a holy body from Alexandria. They claimed it was Street Mark the Evangelist, patron saint of Venice. But Chugg argues they actually took Alexander's body, either mistakenly or deliberately, and it now rests in St. Mark's Basilica. His evidence, analysis of historical documents, architectural clues, and the suspicious circumstances surrounding the body's theft. The Vatican and Venetian authorities have not permitted testing of St. Mark's remains, so the theory remains unproven. Recent technology offers new hope. Ground-penetrating radar, GPR, can detect underground structures without excavation. Electrical resistivity tomography maps subsurface anomalies indicating chambers or voids. Satellite and LiDAR imaging reveals subtle ground features invisible to the naked eye. DNA analysis could confirm identity if remains are discovered. Multiple teams have used these technologies in Alexandria, detecting promising anomalies, possible tomb chambers, underground structures, void spaces. But excavating in a modern city requires permits, funding, political will. So the anomalies remain uninvestigated. The tomb might be 20 feet below a modern apartment building, and we can't dig. So what happened? How does the most famous tomb in the ancient world simply vanish? Theory 1. Natural destruction. Alexandria has suffered multiple catastrophic events. 365 AD. Massive earthquake and tsunami devastate the city. The lighthouse of Alexandria is damaged. Much of the harbor district sinks. Additional earthquakes. 956 AD, 1303 AD. Further destruction and subsidence. Flooding and coastal changes. Sea levels have risen. Parts of ancient Alexandria now sit underwater. If the tomb was in the royal quarter near the harbor, it could now be submerged beneath the Mediterranean, which explains why underwater excavations have been so important. Theory 2. Religious persecution. As Christianity rose to dominance in the 4th century, pagan monuments faced systematic destruction. Alexander's tomb was a pagan shrine. Pilgrims worshipped him as a god. Church authorities likely viewed it as blasphemous. In 391 AD, Patriarch Theophilus led mobs in destroying Alexandria's Serapeum, one of the ancient world's greatest temples. If they destroyed that, why not Alexander's tomb? Christian sources from this period conspicuously stopped mentioning the tomb. Coincidence? Theory 3. It was hidden, perhaps authorities, fearing destruction or desecration, secretly moved Alexander's remains to an unmarked location. This would explain the sudden silence. The tomb didn't disappear. It was deliberately concealed. If true, the location might be recorded in lost documents, or known only to a select few who took the secret to their graves. Theory 4. Complete destruction. The most depressing possibility. The tomb was completely destroyed, the body scattered, burned, or lost. Between earthquakes, religious persecution, looting, and 2,000 years of urban development, maybe nothing remains. Alexander's legacy endures, but his body, perhaps just dust. If you want to see this mystery solved in your lifetime, hit that like button. The more engagement this gets, the more awareness we bring to ongoing searches. And comment, which theory do you believe? Natural disaster? Christian destruction? Still hidden? Or completely gone? Now, the conclusion. Why does finding Alexander's tomb matter? He's been dead for 2,300 years. What difference does it make where his bones are? Because Alexander isn't just history. He's a symbol. Alexander didn't just conquer. He transformed. He spread Greek culture across 3 continents, creating the Hellenistic world that shaped Western civilization. He founded over 70 cities. He fused Greek and Persian culture. He promoted intermarriage between peoples. He dreamed of a united world. Finding his tomb wouldn't just be archaeological triumph. It would connect us directly to one of history's most pivotal figures. If discovered, Alexander's remains would reveal his appearance, facial reconstruction from skull, confirming or disputing ancient descriptions, his health, bone analysis revealing injuries from battles, diseases, possible cause of death, his DNA, genetic analysis confirming ancestry, possibly revealing relatives, his tomb's construction, insights into Ptolemaic art, architecture, royal burial customs, historical verification, confirming or correcting ancient sources about his death and burial. It would be the archaeological discovery of the century, possibly the millennium. The search for Alexander's tomb has consumed lives. Archaeologists have dedicated entire careers to it. Treasure hunters have bankrupted themselves. Amateurs have been arrested excavating illegally. It's an obsession, a fever dream that has persisted for 2,000 years. Why? Because humans are drawn to mysteries. We can't stand unsolved puzzles. And the idea that the greatest conqueror in history lies somewhere beneath our feet, it's irresistible. There's profound irony in Alexander's lost tomb. He conquered the known world. He was worshipped as a god. His tomb was the most visited monument on Earth. And now, we can't even find where he's buried. All that power, all that glory, all that immortality. And time took it all away. Will Alexander's tomb ever be found? Maybe. Alexandria continues to be excavated. Technology improves. Funding sometimes materializes. Political will occasionally aligns. Every few years, someone announces a promising lead. Ground-penetrating radar detects an anomaly. Underwater archaeology reveals new structures. But so far, nothing. Perhaps the tomb is simply waiting, patient, hidden beneath modern streets or ancient waves, waiting for the right moment, the right technology, the right archaeologist. Or perhaps Alexander's final resting place will remain forever what it's been for 2 millennia. History's greatest mystery. If this mystery fascinates you as much as it fascinates me, subscribe to this channel. We explore the historical figures and places that vanished but refuse to be forgotten. Hit that like button. Every like increases the chance someone with resources sees this and funds new searches. And here's your final mission. Comment where you think Alexander's tomb is. Alexandria? Siwa? Underwater? Venice? Completely destroyed? And explain why. I'm reading every comment. Let's crowdsource theories. Maybe someone will say something that inspires the next great search. I'll see you in the next investigation, where we prove that even the mightiest conquerors can be conquered by time. Until then, remember, Alexander conquered the world, but he couldn't conquer oblivion. Somewhere, beneath stone and sand and water, he waits, still undefeated, still hidden, still lost.